Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Godzilla vs Kong is finally out on HBO Max and in theaters, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my spoiler-free review. Really quickly, I want to thank each and every one of you guys who watches these videos for 100 subscribers on the channel, and if you're new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Without wasting any more time, I want to dive right into the good of the movie. So I thought one of the best things in this movie was definitely the CGI. The CGI is something that I'll probably never forget. I mean, this is the first blockbuster film I've seen that's brand new in so long. I mean, I really liked what I saw. I mean, I can't wait to get back into theaters and watch it. I know that a lot of IMAX theaters are sold out all across the United States because people are so excited to watch this movie, and rightfully so. The CGI in this movie is awesome, and one thing that really goes into that is the lighting. I thought the lighting in this movie was awesome. The lighting was a bit of an issue in the first two Godzilla movies. It wasn't that much of an issue in Kong Skull Island, but it was definitely a prominent issue in the first two Godzilla movies, and they really did fix that in this movie. Sometimes it felt like the light was coming in weird places that wasn't really logistical, but overall the CGI, the lighting, environments, everything looks super good, and I just can't wait to see it on the big screen. Now the next thing that kind of complemented the CGI was the score. Now everything is complemented with the score. The score, it was made by XL Junkie, I think, and they did a phenomenal job. Once again, they don't really miss when it comes to movie soundtracks. They did a great job. It was really good in the initial battles, I think, especially in solo battles and not just Godzilla vs Kong. Whenever they were fighting against their environment and just causing destruction in general, the scores were super good. They actually had a sense of like eeriness, and like it felt really scary, and you don't really get that kind of stuff in a high blockbuster film like this where you expect everything to be super action packed. Like this time there was a lot of suspense, there was a lot of horror, and that you could tell all of that through the score itself. I was talking about the fight scenes. I want to kind of get back into the fight scenes a little bit. I think one of my favorite things about the fight scenes, especially where the camera work was super cool, because like it kind of had that handheld feel for a little bit. They also did certain shots where it was more or less like on a tripod, and they just like whipped it back and forth between the two titans, and overall it just looks super sick. I mean, there's not much to say about the fighting itself. The choreography was also pretty great. I like the way that they made Kong super duper agile, and Godzilla was honestly more powerful when it came to his own like features. So like his nuclear blast that comes out of his mouth, obviously that's stronger than basically anything Kong can do, but Kong can basically dodge anything that Godzilla does because he's just so much more agile and fast. So I like the counterbalance between the two, and that leads to some great fights and great choreography. And another thing that kind of went into the CGI goes into the fighting too, the lighting. I like that when we see like for example Kong's axe and then Godzilla shooting his beam at the axe. That part was in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but when we saw that scene, the lighting was phenomenal. Everything that happened in the Battle of Tokyo, I mean, I would have liked to see a few more fights, but overall I liked what I saw in these fights, and they weren't just like a bunch of short battles. They were long, drawn out, well choreographed, and the battles didn't seem too elongated. They seemed like the perfect time. Like if they went on for too long, it would have been boring and annoying, and if it were too short, it would have been boring and annoying. So I'm glad we got the fights that we did. I thought the fights were honestly perfect overall, and this movie was really fun to watch. I think that the choreography had a big part of that, because you felt like they were giving blows back and forth. It wasn't just like Godzilla is OP and then Kong is OP for a certain amount of time. They're actually fighting, and it feels equal, and that's what makes the movie so fun to watch. So as I mentioned before, there were a bunch of solo fight scenes, so basically them like terrorizing their environment or just fighting and saving the humans in their environment. So one example of this in the trailer was Kong, whenever he was like whipping the dinosaur around, like the flying dinosaur around. You could see the difference when they were fighting alone against the environment, and the difference when they were fighting each other. Like it was just super cool to see those differences in their fight moves, what they do on the battlefield, I guess you could say. Overall, it just felt like it was cool to see both sides of it, because you get to see both sides of that creature. And another thing that I really liked was the Team Kong side, and they actually had a big part of the story, especially because Kong was the main focus of the story. And leading off of that, I think Kong's arc was great in this movie. I thought they did a great job. Overall, the pacing of the movie was actually really good, and I feel like that's really hard to do, especially when you're balancing humans that are on Kong's side, and then Kong, and then Godzilla, and then humans on Godzilla's side. And so I feel like overall they did a great job of just pacing everything well, and overall everything was super cohesive. Like it didn't feel like they were jumping from one thing to another too fast. Everything got explained really well, and there was a lot of time for certain things to develop. So now I want to talk talk about the bad of the movie. Now, as is with almost every single one of the Monsterverse movies, the humans in this movie are practically no different. I think the humans in Kong Skull Island were actually really good, and honestly, I think Kong Skull Island is still one of the better Monsterverse movies. I'm gonna rewatch Godzilla vs. Kong to see which one's better, but as of now, I think I still have Kong Skull Island over this movie. I just think that the humans in this movie were pretty lame, and that was kind of the deciding factor, other than obviously the fighting choreography and stuff like that. I just felt like the humans in this movie were used specifically for the plot. They literally had no purpose outside of being used for the plot. Now, yes, that was the same case in Kong Skull Island, but in this movie, it just felt like they were purposely there for the plot, and I felt like one of the biggest reasons for that was the conspiracy theorist plot line with Millie Bobby Brown and then that podcast conspiracy theorist. It just felt so bland, and they were so useless in the movie until the very, very end, and then when they were put in use, it was just super cheesy, and I didn't really like what they did. I don't know, overall it just seemed like a useless plot line, but they needed people on Team Godzilla because Kong had such a big backup of people or humans behind him, so obviously Godzilla needed humans behind him as well. So it makes sense the way they did it for balance, I guess, and also when it comes to screen time. But overall, I just felt like the humans on Godzilla's side didn't have as much of an impact on the story, so I felt like they honestly could have cut them out a little bit. And then there were also a few logistical issues, like I mentioned before, the lighting. It just felt like there were some random lights, and this movie isn't something that you sit down to watch like when you're gonna nitpick everything. I'm just bringing these things up because I'm doing a review, but normally I'm not really thinking of these things when I'm watching a movie. And I think another one of the weirdest logistical things in this movie was, how did they move Kong from point A to point B? Because we see in the trailer that Kong is on their boat. He's in like little handcuffs on their boat, not little, but massive handcuffs on their boat. How do they get him from point A to point B? He is a giant monkey. I don't understand how they do it. Logistics are different in this Monsterverse place, but other than that, there was honestly nothing too bad about the movie. So my final take for this movie is that other than a few small nitpicks here and there, this movie is overall a super fun watch. The CGI in this movie is phenomenal, as well as all of the fight scenes, and most of the plot lines are pretty awesome. And if you just want to have a good time, I really do recommend this movie. And overall, I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. And yeah, guys, that's it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to like ring down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.